St. Andrews has a serious problem on their hands: parking. This problem isn't just limited to sophomores, but also juniors and seniors as well. When students park in areas where lines are not drawn, it can create difficulties when exiting parking spaces, traffic jams when leaving school, and worst of all, property damage. Another issue is the extreme lack of care when parking. When parked on a line or partially parked in another space, a door ding is a near guarantee for both the offender and the car adjacent to them. Parking like this is known as double parking. Some students are parking their cars so far into a space other than their own that their fender is coming within less than half a foot of another car. For example, this student did not take proper care when parking, thus putting their car and the car next to it at risk. This student isn't the only one who's parking illegally, as improper parking on campus is more of an issue than one might think. I caught up with junior James Albright to find out his take on parking on campus.
I think people endanger their cars instead of parking in Narnia because they're lazy and don't want to walk the distance like that person. Or people who park in the dirt like that truck. And it kind of puts people's cars in danger of their own. If someone hit my car in this lot, I would immediately go down to the dean and inform them of this horrible accident and have them punished immediately and have my car repaired.
Should anything be done to punish people who illegally park on campus?
Well, I mean, if it's illegally done, then they're committing a crime. But, I mean, if they're not doing anything illegal, then you can't really do anything about it.
I looked through the Austin City Code to find out how much these parking violations would cost students if the upper lot was considered public property. Chapter 12-589E lists the costs of fines for various parking violations. Let's take a look at some examples on school property and fines these students would have to pay. Parallel parked with your left wheel to the curb, $40. Parked on the line of your parking stall, that too is a $40 fine. Parked in a fire lane or a towaway zone, that's going to run you $50. Parked in a fire zone, that's a $70 fine. Double parked, that too is a $70 fine. Hitting a school bus, that's going to be a lot more than a fine. I caught up with our Dean of Students, Kate Jones, to get her thoughts on the parking problems at St. Andrews.
Parking becomes more of a problem on campus when we get to trimester 2 and trimester 3. Some of it has to do with more students getting their licenses. So at the beginning of the school year, we have enough spaces, but as we go through the school year, we find ourselves with a space shortage for the number of our students who have the ability to drive and the privilege of having a car they can bring to campus. What we try to do is immediately get whoever is driving that car, if we are able to find a match, to get them to move it. I mean, that's the primary step that we take. I do try to give students one warning before then a consequence is delivered. And the initial consequence is detention. As it progresses, it could be another detention, or it could be losing driving privileges to campus, which is pretty significant. We haven't had to jump to that this year, but I would also say it is a challenge to monitor at times, because the busier a day gets or the trimester gets, the harder it is to make that part of the rotation to go out there and quote-unquote catch the students who might be parking in spaces that when we first arrived they weren't. So it's usually, I think I would say, students who arrive late or into the second block or right in time for advisory that are the ones that are illegally parking or parking in spaces that aren't designated for parking. And at that point it is tricky to rotate back around to try to catch them. But when we do, first time is a warning, and then it escalates from there. And to echo the presentation at the beginning of the school year and that was sent out to students, students are allowed to park in the upper lot. There are lottery spots in the athletic parking that we're actually just up for our next round of those for trimester 3. There's 11 spots there that are lotteried off by sports season. And then there are a couple of rows, 2 rows designated for senior parking in the lower lot. And of course, it does shift a bit when we have visitors or guests. All of that gets rotated back or shifted back. The one thing that we have had a little bit of trouble with lately with our overflow, poor weather, it's hard up in Narnia for students to park, although that is one of the overflow parking locations. The other one that we've had to have students move is if they park in front of the gate that facilities needs to enter in to be able to get the lawnmowers and those type of things. Unfortunately, with the spillover, sometimes cars end up blocking that space, so making sure that that's not blocked. Again, it will depend. Going into trimester 3, I'm looking for ideas. And one thing that I am grateful for, Eli Mann, as part of a senior project, is doing a parking study and is looking to see if there's any way to even just reallocate the spots in the lower lot and upper lot, maybe have compact parking and then larger parking to increase the number of spots that we have in the existing space, so that we don't have to increase a concrete paved footprint, which then hurts our space, our campus layout in general.
Knowing the reasons why illegally parking on campus is a problem, maybe students will now take better care when parking their cars to ensure the safety of their vehicle and the vehicles around them.